Hello, everyone. I know it has been a minute since I've been here. I know I'm like trying to get myself back into the group, but I just wanted to kind of come on here just to say one, I am still alive and I am very grateful that I am still alive. And this is year 5 for tutoring. So if you're a person that's thinking about doing tutoring and you just don't know where to start, should you do it? Should you not? This would be a great place for you. So I see some people coming in, which is amazing. But the question here is tutoring, should you do it? Now, there's going to be a lot of teachers that think that tutoring is just such a nice, easy segue away from the mundane of being in the classroom. And I know there's a lot of teachers that just finished a Monday and they're just like, you know what? I need to do something. I need to get out. But I'm here to kind of give you the realistic. And with the realistic, it is going to come with some pain, but it is going to come with a lot of pleasure. Now, when I was in the classroom, I was in there for 18, really 22 years because I had some years as being an instructional assistant. And I guess nowadays they call them a paraeducator. And being in the classroom and seeing how the kids are learning and just seeing that advancement is awesome. But the emails, the meetings, and even just to see people break out. I remember this one teacher, she used to break out in hives every time we had parent teacher conferences because she was definitely afraid to talk to parents. And I never understood why. For me, it just seemed like it was natural. I always tried to keep like the parents in the know of like, hey, this is what's going on with this kid. I'm noticing a change with your child. What's going on? But when it came to IEP meetings, they're like, oh, it's nice to have a face with a name. But then when it came to parent teacher conferences, they're so used to hearing from me that they were just like, okay, I don't want to hear from Miss Audrey because she talks to me all the time. I want to hear from like the other teachers, something like that. But it's almost like I really wanted to come here to kind of give words of wisdom and also encouragement. When it comes to education, it's not easy. It's not easy whatsoever. So even when you go into tutoring, I know it's a business. And a lot of people don't recognize it as a business because they see tutoring as a hobby. It's usually some kid that's in college that's just, trying to get beer money and they just learn to do some tutoring on the side and they keep it moving. But in fact, tutoring can be a business, but the only way it can be is when you start making a profit. And then we as educators, it is so hard for us to make that transition. So when it comes to, hey, Miss Numbers, when it comes to trying to make that transition of having that mindset and having that passion for education and to keep hold of that passion, this is the reason why a lot of good tutors stay in the mix and they stay in the mix for years. There are people like I have here on Instagram. I got Mr. Numbers, and he's doing wonderful things over in Africa to really bring education and bringing like basically hope to people and to kids to say that, you know what, this is a situation, but you can grow out of it. You can be successful in it. And as well as I'm seeing some other people a little bit in Facebook that's really kind of like, hey, waving and that's great. But when it comes down to like right now, this is close to the time that we're going to start tutoring. And I have a tutoring session in 10 minutes, but I definitely wanted to come on in here. But I want to speak to the tutors, not so much the parents. And I understand there's going to be times that you want to excel in your tutoring business. You want to get as many kids as possible. And I know a lot of people will always send me a message and say, hey, Audrey, like, how do you get your clients? What's the secret? Well, guess what? There is no secret. I feel that I get a lot of my clients with word of mouth and also with collaborations with other tutors. I know tutors that are elementary age, and also I know tutors that do exactly the same thing as I do. But I don't see them as competition. I see that as more of a moment for us to network and to collaborate to see what we can do to help each other out. I know if I get a lot of elementary school, which I do have a phone call and at four, no, I do have a phone call later on today, where I can actually talk to a parent that's looking for a tutor for his fourth grade daughter. I don't do fourth grade, but I know a lot of people who does. But before I basically say, oh, call this person, I want to get to know you to make sure that that's a good fit. So I do that naturally. And because I do that with other people, I know I have people that I know my go-to is Robert when it comes to calculus. And like I could do calculus, but I prefer looking at the algebra 2, looking at the algebras, the integrated math as well. That's my thing. But I know for hands down, Robert is amazing when it comes to the calculus piece and the AP Calc. And he understands the test because he's done the test before. I've never done the test before. So when people always say, all right, I want to do tutoring, and they think it's easy, it's not. You have to figure out ways to get clients or figure out what your niche is. You can't say that I'm going to tutor from K through 12. No, you're going to burn yourself out because 1 hour or maybe a half an hour, you have a kindergarten. And then the next half an hour, the next session, you have someone that's in 11th grade that needs help with algebra 2. And then the next session, you have like a fourth grader that needs help with their reading. And then you have another. It's too much jumping up and down. So you do need to understand what your niche is. You do need to understand who you're going to talk to. But before you can do anything, you need to understand your mindset. Where do you want to go? Who do you want to talk to? Who do you want to connect with? Because there's going to be kids. And I always like to say the power of 1%. I can't handle 1% of the population. So why are we acting like there's not enough kids or there's not enough people that needs assistance, be it remediation or even advancement? There's tons of kids. How many can you seriously can handle? What? 10, 20, maybe 25, maybe 15? And I'm not saying in groups. I'm saying like individual sessions. How many individual sessions do you think you can handle? And be real with yourself. How are you going to talk to these people? Do you need to go on social media? Do you need to make a flyer and go to areas where you can hang up your information or share that information with your friends and family and have them share it on their social media? You can do Facebook ads. You can do Google ads. But I'm going to tell you, you're going to get a lot of likes. But you want a lot of conversions. And the only way that that conversion can happen is if people see and hear you. They need to hear you. They need to see your personality. And if your personality can kind of match a little bit with their child or themselves, because we have adult learners as well, then they need to hear and see you. If they don't hear and see you, they're not going to trust you. And if they're not going to trust you, they're not going to buy your services from you. So sometimes you have to put that into the mix. And it took me a good 4 years to finally figure that out. And I've been doing this tutoring thing for 5 years and I'm still going strong. And right now, a lot of my students did come back, not all of them, because I know as soon as they get their very first test, that's when everything is going to change. That's when they're going to hear that phone call. Or better yet, when first quarter ends, that's when I get that flux. And that's usually the end of October, beginning of November. It's going to be a huge flux. But there's a lot that I'm sensing. There's a lot of people whose child is going to high school for the first year, ninth graders, and they're trying to figure themselves out. So they're giving them a little leeway. But as soon as that first test, maybe even the second test, that's when they're going to put their foot down and say, look, we need some more assistance. So it's kind of like we as tutors, we need to be patient in our business. But at the same time, we have to do work. We can't just sit back and wait for people to respond to us. That doesn't make any sense. So when it comes down to having their passion, having your honesty, it's almost like you have to know how much you're going to charge too. And this is one thing. This summer was the absolute worst summer of my life. And I'm going to be near and dear. Like about 4 weeks ago, I probably wouldn't be here in front of you. But there was a voice that says, you don't want to do what you're about to do. And you need to do this. And what that this was, believe it or not, was my math notebook. And then a couple of days ago, not so long ago, I posted about my math notebook. It just came to me. It was like, our kids need organization. Like, they don't have notes. Like, even when I'm doing tutoring, I'm like, all right, what's your notes? What did your teacher say? And they're like, I don't know. And they're fumbling through tons of packets. And I know a lot of teachers nowadays are doing packets. And it's easier. I remember working at a school where I had to basically get my own paper. So I literally had to write and use my own paper. I had to go to the store, buy paper to use for my packets. And when we had all the whole packet thing, I was just like, you are not looking through your stuff until it's time for a test. And they're like, yeah, pretty much. And then I'm like, how do you feel right now? And they're like all over the place. And then I decided to do the math notebook. And I mean, I like it. And I had a couple of my students do it. I mean, like, I got pages of graph paper on one side and then Cornell notes, guided notes on the other side. And then I realized that kids are not given the opportunity to write down their notes. And that's what they need for math to study. They need to actually write stuff down. That's what they actually have to do. They need to write things in order for them to remember, in order for them to apply. And sometimes when you get these packets, a lot of people, they don't have any room to write like little notes or little sayings that will help them to remember how to do a certain concept. So then you're just like, what are we doing? So then after a moment of depression and almost not being here, I just put this together. And I sat down and I always thought about it because last year I started doing a notebook and then I stopped because a lot of people are like, oh, that's cute. That's cute. Well, what about the boys? And what about this? Because it was supposed to be just girl themed. And then I stopped. And then once I released this notebook, if I may share, I got mixed results. I had one person told me that like, oh, the stuff that you have in the back is like a cheat sheet. And I responded like, well, isn't a multiplication chart like a cheat sheet? Didn't get a response back. Or, oh, Audrey, did you create that? Yeah. Why is everyone shocked that I was able to put something together and sit down and watch a lot of YouTube videos on how to make a notebook and then making the decision to make sure I had the pages in color as opposed to black and white because color is expensive. Yeah, I'm not making a whole lot of money from each of these notebooks once it's all put together. But I want to make a change. But in order for me to make a change, in order for me to be a part of the conversation of how education is really faltering and this is how I can make a business out of it, I have to be a part of that change. I have to make that decision. So, yeah, I got a lot of naysayers and I immediately started feeling bad. And then I'm like, wait a minute. Any kind of discussion that I get is good discussion. Any kind of feedback that I get is going to motivate me because there are some that are like, oh, that's cute. Oh, that's nice. And some people will say, oh my God, this is going to be a major game changer. But no matter what, I had to feel secure about it because what I've been doing for the summer just to stay above water is I've been doing Uber Eats driving. Yeah, I was a driver and people order some very interesting things. Very interesting. Okay. So we'll talk about that later. But all in all, I see in some of these ritzy titsy stores that they're selling honey for $14 and people are buying it. I had a college student wanted a planner as the size of the palm of my hand at Staples, and it cost $15 and some change for a planner, just the days of the week for 12 months. That's it. So why couldn't my services, which is going to not only help, but it's also going to be more of a support for our students. So when you guys as tutors, as things start climbing, and it will, because right now, people are not going to think tutor right off the bat. It's going to take some time, right? It's going to take some time for they want to see how the kids are going to react to their new teacher, to their new surroundings, with their new friends, and just try to get used to things. And then if they notice that the kids are struggling, that's when they're going to bring them in. And when they're ready to bring them in, they want to have you at top of mind. So I've always lived by the second year of doing this tutoring business. I've always lived by this mantra that was going around on TikTok many summers ago. And it says, I don't chase, I attract. What belongs to me will simply find me. But the part that really resonates with me is I don't chase. So I'm not chasing after clients. I attract them. I attract them with my lives. I attract them with my videos. I attract them with some of my posts. I attract them by basically putting my flyers in my local community or even my extended community. But when I'm doing those things, I'm putting myself out there. So if you're a type of person that don't want to put yourself out there, then don't do this tutoring thing. If you're a person that's not an action taker, you just want to basically go to program to program to program and forking out money after money after money, then fine. But you're wasting time and you're wasting money because you're taking information like a vampire, but then you're not applying it. You're not putting action behind it. You can tell yourself that you are, but if you're not saying, okay, I've done this. All right, I got a new client. I got a new lead. Oh, there's a lead today. Oh, I got 2 new leads about this week. You're making fools of yourself. So that's all I wanted to do. I just wanted to step on in here. I think I'm going to be coming back and basically reiterating, I'm going to be bringing 2 tutors back. So if you are a tutor and you want a platform to basically present your tutoring business, go ahead and DM me. You can DM me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, whatever it is. Because I really want to make positive and help with growth as well as changes. All right. So I will catch you on the next fly where I'll actually talk a little bit more about my math notebook and actually show you guys how exactly to use it. Because I'm telling you, this is going to be something that's going to be beneficial, not for just elementary, not really elementary, but mostly those secondary students and post-secondary. So anyone from that's an advanced 7th grader all the way up to adult learners to help them out. And then soon enough, I'm going to be coming out with a couple of courses that's going to help with the foundational piece of math. All right. So you guys have an amazing day. And remember, keep being an awesome resource for those. Answer those questions. Are you the answer to their prayer? For them to understand the concepts, for them to grow and to achieve. If you can say the answer is yes, then tutoring is for you. All right. Talk to you soon. Take care.